The desperate call. The transmission arrived on Earth during the worst dust storm Mars had seen in decades. The Viridian Alliance's message cut through security protocols like they were made of tissue paper, broadcasting simultaneously to every major governmental and scientific institution across the solar system. Its crystalline visuals materialized in the United Earth Defense Council's chamber, interrupting the heated debate about terraforming quotas. Admiral Helena Reyes froze mid-sentence as the holographic form of Ambassador Cellar materialized, a being with smooth indigo skin and too many joints in its elongated limbs. The alien's voice resonated with a harmonious overlay that Earth's translation matrix interpreted as diplomacy-enhancing subsonics. Esteemed representatives of the Sol System Coalition, the alien began. The Viridian Alliance extends our most sincere greetings. We have observed your civilization's development with great interest. Your species has demonstrated remarkable resilience in overcoming planetary challenges. Admiral Reyes exchanged glances with General Okafor. The diplomatic pleasantries weren't masking the desperation they both detected. The Viridians, who had ignored Earth's attempts at communication for decades, suddenly needed something. Our stellar cluster faces an unprecedented ecological catastrophe, the ambassador continued. Despite our advanced technologies, we require specific expertise that your species uniquely possesses. We request humanitarian assistance in exchange for technological compensation commensurate with your developmental stage. When the transmission ended, the chamber erupted in debate. The Viridians, an alliance of 17 spacefaring species, had a technological advantage measured in centuries, possibly millennia. Their request made no sense. It's obviously a trap, General Okafor declared. Or worse, a test. But Dr. Maya Chen wasn't listening to the political posturing. The quantum physicist had been analyzing the transmission's carrier wave, finding encrypted data streams hidden within the message's harmonic overlays. She'd been monitoring the Viridian Communications Network for years, a passion project dismissed by her colleagues as obsessive. There's more, she announced, silencing the room as she projected her findings. They embedded real-time ecological data in the transmission. This isn't diplomatic theater. They're terrified. Commander Darius Jackson, Earth's foremost expert on xenobiology, stepped forward to examine Maya's findings. His dark eyes narrowed as he deciphered the patterns. It's a cascade failure in their ecosystem, he murmured. But that shouldn't be possible with their level of technology unless they're facing something they've never encountered before, Maya finished. Within 48 hours, the Council authorized Project Terraform. Not the standard diplomatic mission the Viridians likely expected, but something uniquely human. The team assembled was not composed of diplomats or military personnel, but veterans of Earth's environmental catastrophes. Climatologists who had stabilized the Great European Drought, engineers who had reclaimed coastal cities from rising oceans, biologists who had reversed mass extinctions. The chosen vessel wasn't a warship but the ECS Restoration, a terraforming ship designed to rehabilitate devastated ecosystems. Its curved hull housed artificial biomes, molecular fabricators, and atmospheric processors, technology born from centuries of humans fighting to repair their own homeworld. Dr. Maya Chen found herself appointed as the mission's lead scientist, with Commander Jackson heading xenobiology. Admiral Reyes had given them explicit instructions. Find out what they need, determine if we can help, and evaluate if we should. The journey to the Viridian home system took 3 weeks using the experimental quantum drive. Maya spent the time analyzing the hidden data streams, while Jackson prepared adaptation protocols for the team's environmental suits. The Viridian biochemistry was silicon-based rather than carbon, making cross-contamination unlikely, but not impossible. They're hiding something, Maya told Jackson in the ship's observation deck, watching the quantum wake streaming behind them. The ecological data shows catastrophic cascading failures, but there are information gaps, deliberate ones. Jackson nodded, his expression grim. The Viridians have been a Type Io civilization for at least 3,000 years. They don't just suffer ecological disasters. Unless they caused it themselves, Maya said quietly. When the restoration dropped out of quantum space at the edge of the Viridian system, the crew immediately understood the magnitude of the crisis. The system's fourth planet, the Alliance's capital world, was visibly changed from the reference imagery they had. Where there should have been swirling violet and emerald atmosphere, there were massive gray-brown patches spreading like infections. The Viridian greeting party was a single diplomatic vessel, its design sleek and ornate. The subsequent meeting aboard the Restoration revealed the cultural gulf between the species. Ambassador Tselar and his delegation approached the humans with barely concealed condescension despite their desperate situation. "We appreciate your prompt response," the ambassador began, his translator converting the harmonics into English. "We have prepared suitable accommodation for your diplomatic contingent, while our specialists evaluate your technological offerings." Maya stepped forward. "We didn't bring diplomats or technology samples, Ambassador. We brought solutions." She projected the complete analysis her team had assembled. "Your world is experiencing an exponential collapse of your atmospheric regulation system. Based on our analysis, this began approximately 12 of your stellar cycles ago, when you implemented a new planetary climate control network." The ambassador's posture changed subtly, what Jackson recognized as shock in their species. "How could you possibly know?" "Because we've seen it before," Jackson interrupted. "Not with your exact technology, but the pattern is familiar. You tried to engineer perfection into a chaotic system, and now it's failing catastrophically." The Viridian delegation's harmonics became discordant, their equivalent of heated argument. The primary science advisor, a being named Velmach, finally addressed the humans directly. "Your analysis exceeds our expectations," they admitted. "But understand, humans, our climate control system was operating perfectly for centuries before this anomaly began." Maya nodded. "Because you designed it to respond to stable patterns. But ecological systems are inherently chaotic. Earth learned this through catastrophic failure. We spent centuries trying to control our environment before we finally learned to adapt with it instead." The Viridians seemed genuinely confused by this approach. Their civilization had mastered the art of control, controlling environments, controlling outcomes, controlling evolution itself. The concept of adaptability as strength rather than weakness was foreign to them. When the Restoration entered orbit around the Viridian homeworld, Maya and Jackson led the survey team to the surface. The planetary degradation was even more severe than their scans had indicated. Vast regions of once vibrant crystalline forests had collapsed into dull, lifeless fields. The atmosphere processors, massive structures visible from orbit, were working at maximum capacity, but failing to halt the cascading collapse. The Viridian Scientific Council welcomed them with formal ceremony, but obvious skepticism. These humans, primitives by their standards, couldn't possibly understand their advanced systems. Council leader Resmar, a venerable Viridian with pale blue skin that had begun developing the gray patina of extreme age, addressed them directly. "We have determined that a previously unknown biological element has contaminated our atmospheric regulation system. Our efforts to isolate and eliminate this contaminant have proven unsuccessful." Maya studied the data they provided, her mind making connections the Viridians had missed. "This isn't contamination," she finally said. "It's adaptation." The council chamber fell silent as Maya explained her theory. The Viridians had engineered their environment for perfect homeostasis, but in doing so, they had created the conditions for evolutionary pressure. The very system designed to prevent change had become the catalyst for a new kind of change, one their models hadn't predicted because they'd eliminated all previous examples of chaotic adaptation from their world. "You've created an arms race against nature," Jackson explained. "And nature is winning." The Viridian Council received this assessment with what translated to humans as indignation. Their civilization was built on mastery over natural systems. The concept that nature could outmaneuver their technology was almost heretical. As the first day of consultations ended, Maya and Jackson returned to the restoration to confer with their team. The ship's central laboratory had been transformed into a simulation chamber, with models of the Viridian atmospheric system running constantly. "They're not telling us everything," Maya told the assembled team. "Their climate control system didn't just fail, it was sabotage, but not by any external force. They did it themselves," asked Dr. Sato, their atmospheric specialist. Jackson nodded grimly. "Not intentionally, but they've been engineering their environment for so long that they forgot a fundamental truth we learned the hard way on Earth." Maya completed his thought. "Nature always finds a way." Unstoppable fury. Dawn broke over the Viridian capital city of Asmareth, its crystalline spires refracting the light of the system's binary stars into prismatic patterns across the plaza where the Earth delegation gathered. The beauty of the alien architecture stood in stark contrast to the growing atmospheric disturbance visible on the horizon, a roiling mass of gray-brown clouds that consumed the natural violet hues of the Viridian sky. Maya Chen adjusted her environmental suit, not for protection against the alien atmosphere, but against the increasingly toxic byproducts of the failing climate control system. Behind her, the Earth team was unloading equipment from their shuttle, not the sleek, ornamental tools the Viridians had expected, but robust, modular systems designed for hostile environments and unexpected failures. "They're watching us," Commander Jackson murmured, nodding toward the observation platforms, where Viridian officials monitored their every move. "They still think we've brought some magical technological solution." "They're about to be disappointed," Maya replied. "We didn't bring technology. We brought methodology." The Earth team's approach was fundamentally different from anything the Viridians had contemplated. Where the aliens had built massive, centralized atmospheric processors designed to force the environment into compliance, the humans began deploying networks of small, adaptive units throughout the affected zones. Each unit could sense, respond, and evolve its approach based on changing conditions. Science advisor Velmach approached with obvious skepticism. "These devices appear primitive by our standards." "That's intentional," Maya explained. "Your highly advanced systems are precisely the problem. They're too perfect, too inflexible. Our systems are designed to fail in small, manageable ways and then adapt." The concept was almost incomprehensible to the Viridians. Their civilization had eliminated inefficiency and failure as concepts centuries ago. The idea of intentionally building imperfection into a system was not just foreign, it was offensive. "Perfection is what caused this crisis," Jackson added, seeing the aliens' confusion. "You engineered an environmental system with no redundancy, no capacity for chaotic adaptation. When conditions changed beyond your parameters, the entire system began to collapse." The first major confrontation came when Maya's team proposed the deliberate introduction of bioengineered organisms to stabilize the failing atmospheric layers. The Viridian Council was horrified. "You propose to contaminate our atmosphere with unpredictable biological agents." Council leader Resmar's harmonic overlay conveyed alarm and indignation. Maya stood her ground. "Your atmosphere is already contaminated. The microorganisms we're proposing will create a buffer system that can adapt to the changing conditions faster than any mechanical solution. And if these organisms evolve beyond your predictions," another counselor demanded. "They will," Jackson stated flatly. "That's the point. They'll evolve in response to whatever is causing this cascade, creating a dynamic equilibrium rather than forcing an artificial stability." The philosophical gulf between the species became increasingly apparent. The Viridians had built their civilization on the principle of absolute control. They had engineered their environment, their social structures, even their own evolution to eliminate uncertainty. Humans, by contrast, had embraced adaptation after centuries of environmental catastrophes had taught them the futility of perfect control. The tension culminated in a final council meeting, where Ambassador Zeller delivered what he clearly believed was a diplomatic compromise. "We appreciate Earth's Unconventional approach, but we have determined that our own enhanced atmospheric processors will resolve the crisis once fully deployed. Maya exchanged glances with Jackson. The enhanced processors were exactly the wrong approach, escalating the very technological arms race that had created the problem. But the Viridians couldn't see beyond their paradigm of control. "Ambassador," Maya said carefully, "your projections are based on faulty assumptions. Your enhanced processors will accelerate the collapse." She displayed the simulation her team had created, showing the catastrophic failure that would follow the Viridian approach. The council chamber erupted in discordant harmonics as the aliens disputed the analysis. It was Admiral Rice, communicating from the Restoration in orbit, who finally broke the impasse. Her voice cut through the chamber with the authority of someone who had faced extinction and survived. "The Viridian Alliance requested our help because Earth has survived what you're now facing," she stated. "We didn't overcome our environmental catastrophes through superior technology, but through a fundamental paradigm shift." The bluntness of her statement silenced the chamber. For a species that had eliminated direct confrontation centuries ago, the human directness was shocking. In the tense days that followed, a compromise emerged. The Viridians would allow the Earth team to implement their adaptive solution in one region, a fate they already considered lost. What followed astonished even the most skeptical Viridian observers. The Earth approach was not elegant or precise by Viridian standards. It was messy, improvisational, and constantly changing. The human team worked in shifts, adjusting their strategy based on real-time feedback, embracing failure as a source of data rather than a setback. They deployed their bioengineered organisms alongside mechanical systems, creating a hybrid approach that could respond to changing conditions without central control. The turning point came 3 weeks into the project when a massive atmospheric disturbance, worse than any previously recorded, swept across the planet. The Viridian systems failed catastrophically, unable to adapt to the extreme conditions. But in the test region, the Earth solution bent without breaking. The bioengineered buffer systems evolved rapidly, stabilizing the atmosphere even as conditions deteriorated elsewhere. The monitoring station where Maya and Velmok observed the crisis became a window into 2 different philosophies. On screens showing Viridian-controlled regions, system after system failed as the perfect design encountered imperfect reality. On screens showing the Earth-managed zone, constant small failures and adaptations created a dynamic stability that weathered the storm. "How can such inefficiency succeed where our precision fails?" Velmok asked, genuine bewilderment in their harmonics. Maya's answer was simple: "Because we designed for chaos, not control." The success of the Earth approach transformed the relationship between the species. The Viridians, pragmatic despite their rigidity, recognized the effectiveness of the human methodology. Within days, the Council authorized full implementation of the Earth solution planet-wide. The work that followed was unprecedented. Humanity's chaotic, adaptive approach deployed at a scale that matched Viridian efficiency. The humans taught while they worked, showing the Viridians how to embrace controlled failure, how to design systems that could evolve, how to build resilience through diversity rather than uniformity. 3 months after their arrival, Maya stood with Ambassador Tseller on the observation platform overlooking the capital. The sky above was returning to its natural violet hue, with only traces of the brown contamination visible at the horizon. "Your species has given us more than atmospheric stabilization," the ambassador said, his harmonic overlay conveying genuine respect. "You've shown us a new way of thinking." "We learned it the hard way," Maya replied. "Earth nearly died multiple times before we understood that controlling nature is far less effective than partnering with it." As the Restoration prepared to depart, the Viridian Alliance presented Earth with their promised technological compensation, but it was far more generous than originally offered. The exchange, however, went beyond technology. Both civilizations had gained something more valuable. The Viridians learned the strength that comes from embracing adaptation, while humanity gained an ally that recognized their unique resilience. The final transmission from the Viridian Council to Earth contained a message that would transform interstellar relations. We sought your aid expecting simple assistance. Instead, you showed us an unstoppable fury, not of destruction, but of adaptation. Your species' greatest strength is not what you can control, but how you respond to what you cannot control. The Viridian Alliance formally recognizes Earth as an equal partner in galactic affairs, regardless of technological development stages. As the Restoration entered quantum space for the journey home, Admiral Rice addressed the assembled crew. Today marks a new chapter in human history. We've proven that our greatest contribution to the galaxy isn't technology or resources. It's our hard-won wisdom about survival. We called it humanity's unstoppable fury during our darkest hours on Earth, that relentless drive to adapt and overcome that got us through climate collapse, resource wars, and near extinction. Maya looked out at the quantum wake streaming behind them, thinking about the journey that had brought humanity to this moment. Earth had nearly destroyed itself multiple times, yet those very catastrophes had forged the resilience that now made humans uniquely valuable in an interstellar community. The Viridians had asked for aid. What they received was the full force of humanity's greatest strength, not conquest or control, but the unstoppable fury of adaptation that had kept humanity alive against all odds.